What's cracking, people? It's your man Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, representing high-level technicians operating globally and beyond. So listen, today I'm going to present the final installment for the Octane grade spectrum or Octane observations from the hashtag selectmanosphere perspective. And I want to point out two things. The first thing is that, yes, I am aware that there is such a grade as the 85 octane. And even though the 87 is the pre-ratchet or the pre-85, just borderline, I will make an 85 octane podcast, and that's going directly to the Patreon side because of politics, because of, well, primarily because select men do not choose 85 octanes outside of a drunk, late night, last minute beer goggle interaction. Let me state that. And two, because of the way in which the 85 is promoted in this particular culture and how the 85 is used as a strategic pawn in conversations, I don't believe that a honest conversation can be had with using the 85 octane as the focus of a conversation. So that's going to go directly to the Patreon side. Second, beyond this particular installment of the Octane observations, there's going to be a final video, which is a follow-up called Octane Endgame. And that's similar to the Alpha Endgame podcast that I produced some months ago. And it's basically going to be a recap because in the Select Manosphere, we like to look at things comprehensively from a 360 perspective, but also what is the ultimate outcome from this observation? What's the way forward? How do we evolve beyond this space with this new knowledge or new perspective that we've gained? So stay tuned for that. That will be posted on the YouTube side. But again, the 85 octane installation to the observations will only go to the Patreon side. So having said that, let's get into the case study for the 87 octane. And today we are observing Yvette, aka Taraji P. Henson from the Baby Boy movie. Now, her world was Compton / customer service. Her gender is female. Her height was 5'5". Her weight was 125 pounds. And of course, octane grade is 87. Now, the 87 octane's SMV range starts at a 6, which is lower than the range of the previous octanes that were presented in the observation series. That's going to be explained in another video. I'm going to post a graphic real briefly about what a select man's female SMV scale looks like. And just really quickly, that 6 is the adjustable or the girl next door classification, and that is basically the floor for the average select man. Like I said, we'll go over that in a different podcast, but just for the sake of this case study, we'll leave the low end of that range at 6 and the high end at 8. Now, the 87 octane's identifiers. She has flirty to provocative attire. Her hair ranges from natural to weaved or braided. She is cordial to defensive as far as her disposition is concerned. And her body type is athletic to borderline curvy. And when we say curvy, that means you're knocking on the door of overweight. Okay, that variance is given to women of certain ethnic backgrounds, but more specifically to Black women in America or African American or American descendants of slaves. So their environment of observation, customer service positions, front-facing staff positions. The 87 octane skill sets can project submissiveness. Now, I say that because when you look at the octane grade spectrum and you look at the descriptive word that I placed under the 87, that's pedestrian, but look at the soundbite. It says men are a come up. So when we talk about the 87 skill set, because she's good at customer service or she's in a front facing staff position, she has to put on a certain type of presentation. This is her marketing rep. And when she is looking for a man who is able to elevate her status or elevate her position, she's going to project submissiveness, because quiet as kept, fellas, all women know that a key to projecting femininity is submissiveness to masculinity. That is nature. That is elemental. That is a basic core element that is present in the male-female dynamic. No matter how many studies can be done, no matter how many articles you can find at the back of the internet, shout out to C Boogie for that, no matter what people say, the true balanced dynamic between masculine and feminine is this: masculine dominant, feminine submissive. That is quintessential to how a cooperative, cohesive, balanced relationship dynamic works and flows between men and women. Point blank, full stop, period. Now, when we talk about the 87 Octane, we have to keep in mind that she can be borderline 85 Octane. And if I were to give a word to 85 beyond ratchet, I would say disruptive, right? And in any situation, if an entity is handed an element or an object that allows them to be disruptive or to disrupt the status quo, i.e., the ability to survive outside of a capable, male-led, male-provided, and male-protected system or arrangement, which is the ideal traditional relationship, courtesy of a government that is providing subsidies depending on the absence of such a male. There is a small percentage of women who will go for that leverage and will take that leverage, and the outgrowth of the resulting behavior and patterns of that leverage gives you the ecosystem of the 85. So, like I said, that's another rabbit hole that we'll discuss on the Patreon side. But just keep in mind that as part of the quote-unquote skill sets of an 87, she can project submissiveness. She can put herself out there as something that is desirable to a higher level male. But keeping in mind this also, as far as her skill set, she hustles when pressured. So if her back's against the wall, she's going to do whatever it takes to get done the business of surviving. Lastly, skill sets under the 87 Octane: drone laborer, meaning that she excels at menial tasks. She excels at repetitive tasks that don't require a higher level of skill sets or a higher level of professional proficiencies, or that will require an additional educational certification. And so finally, let's look at what she values. Now, the 87 Octane values someone who can elevate her situation, but not too far beyond her comfort zone. She values acceptance in immediate familial or the community structure. So what does this mean? Well, gentlemen, the short answer is this: the 87 Octane rarely finds rank on a select man's roster, if at all, a bench spot or a satellite spot on a select man's roster. What does this mean? Well, a select man understands value and what it means to find value in another person that is in his space. And when we look at the 87 Octane, she is on the borderline, even though she has, minimal proficiencies and she could have levels of attractiveness. She is on the lower spectrum of a woman who possesses elements that enhance a man's life. We're not talking about a pre-select or semi-select, as Ron Wills would say, or even let's go as far as say a non-select man. Men like that, she could bring, you know, validation to their lives. She could bring companionship to their lives. But let's be honest. If you're a select man, you're looking for elements that enhance your position, elements that you can put in place that make your life better, that elevate your purpose and ultimately figure into your vision, right? When we look at the 87 octane, the 87 and the 85, those are women who do not do that. Those are women who are primarily incapable of doing that. That does not mean that a select man could not find an outstanding 87 octane. That does not mean that an 87 man can't find values or skill sets that benefit his path or his vision in the short term or even long term in a specific 87 octane woman. But what I'm saying, and what is the overall goal of the Octane Observation series, is to present these women in this spectrum of women from a select man's viewpoint. And again, the select man's viewpoint is towards evolution, is towards vision, is towards seeking out his journey and living his purpose. Women play a role in that, but they are not the primary role in that. Let me say this again. Women play a role in a select man's or a masculine master's vision, purpose, evolution, and journey. However, he understands that she does not play a primary role. And what's more or as important as determining which women do play a factor in his evolution, in his vision, and in his purpose is identifying the women who do not, and the women who can deter and detract from his purpose, his vision, his evolution, his journey, and his goals. That's why the select manosphere is important, and that's why it sets itself apart from other factions of the manosphere ultimately. But as always with the observations from this series, we're going to have the 87 Octane Sex post on the Patreon side. And as I hinted to before with the 89, this is the most wild breakdown of a sexual experience amongst the Octane spectrum. Over there in the Hot House, I'll leave a link for that. And as always, this is your man Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, saying, stay sharp and mission focused. Later.